How you guys all doing tonight? Year of None with Mundus Minute here. And we're going to go over a lot of stuff today. But first, we're going to go over and take a look at what's on the Golden Merchant, what's on the Luxury Merchant, so you guys can go ahead and get that stuff while we're talking about other news inside Elder Scrolls Online. Alright, so first, here in Cold Harbor here with the Luxury Merchant, we have a few items here.
Linen sheets, don't you?
So you have a Krogler Embracer Ornate, which is kind of good for like a big hall area. Krogler Relief Serpent. This is kind of interesting. I don't really like it myself, but it's actually one of the first times I've actually seen just a relief piece and not like the entire like wall with it. But it kind of sucks. It looks like it's half the thing. I want to go for that for 20k myself. Kragler Skull. Again, more of a wall piece, but this one actually looks a bit better. Only thing is it's 35k for that. And a sword sconce. I think the sword sconce I could definitely see people getting. Take a look at that. Like, you got swords in it, you got fire in it. What's not to love about that, huh? Now, on the other end, what's on the Golden Merchant actually might interest a few people tonight. So, mainly PvPers, actually. First up is the 250k stuff. Automaton's Ring, which is typically out of Darkshade 2. This is typically used by Templar builds and Sork builds. Typically not something like well, maybe some Nightblade builds and some DKs. But mostly DKs and Nightblades work out disease and poison. So they wouldn't get much benefit from this with the weapon damage on physical damage abilities. But definitely Templars, definitely Sorks as well. It's kind of fallen out of favor because there's other sets that give better weapon damage, like Alchemist and a few other things. But it's still not a bad set. Addition to that, Hercine's Ring. Which I wouldn't necessarily think this would be actually great. Now, it did get updated last few patches here, where the 5-piece here is now reduces stamina cost your abilities by 4%, and up to 11 other groups by 28 meters. You also get stamina recovery, stamina recovery. No weapon damage on top of that. You're already getting a ton of stamina recovery and then boosted up and reducing your abilities by 4%. Not sure if you go with the full gold on that. Now, for the 150k, you got something really good. 7th Legion. If you haven't played a tanky DK class, you haven't tried out 7th Legion, I really recommend folks do. This set here is weapon damage, health recovery, weapon critical. And then when you take damage, you have 10% chance to get 500 weapon damage for 5 seconds, good burst, and a little bit of a heal. Now, why is this so good? Well, combine this with Troll King to get the health recovery here, and also to trigger off is kind of nice. In addition to that, that 500 weapon damage is a pretty good boost. You take a look at something like Clever Alchemist, you can get that every time your potion goes off, but remember the cooldown for that is your potion cooldown time, so it's not quite as good. And then this is every 5 seconds, and then if I can occur every 2 seconds, aka this here can have 100% uptime as long as you're being hit and as long as it's proccing. Not that bad of a thing. In addition to that, it's also whenever you take damage. Note that as well, because anybody who's putting a dot on you, anytime you're stopping an AoE, it's not direct hit, so it can also be just like a little chump hit, and that could actually be triggering this off. And then finally, Smuggler's Ring, not really that great, unfortunately. Max Magical Recovery Spell Damage. When you drink a potion, gain Major Expedition for 30 seconds, increasing your movement speed by 30%. There's other sets that are better out there, or other sets that are better out there. For example, Coward's Ring is usually better. I know this is for Magicka here, but I mean, Major Expedition, every time you drink a potion, that's a long time to wait for that. So yeah, not that great really. So the other things inside of our current notes here, I got my paper here. We're going to go over some of the patch notes that we had today, or not today, but Monday. I know it's a little bit late to go over those. You should always be taking a look on the Elder Scrolls Online forums and take a look under the patches stuff, or the patch stuff. But they did have a few improvements on some of the dungeons here. So Fanglair, they fixed multiple issues in Direful Immolation, ability cast from by carnivorous direwolves, and the Withering Spore abilities and fungal abilities. Typically, the the menagerie there is always the hardest one. And getting the dire wolves fixed up should help it a lot. And additionally, the menagerie no longer resets when the tiger or the guar recover from their stun. That was another big one as well. It was really annoying that you'd have a good run and then just suddenly restarts. Scale Collar, the plague concoctor Mamorutu now applies the injection debuffs to all players in the encounter, making the achievement Doctor's Orders properly attainable. Makes sense. General fix an issue with the Welkinar fragments. We're dropping in Veteran Cloudrus when two or any two of the three bosses fall alongside Zamaja. This no longer will be drop until September. The motif fragments will no longer drop until September 12th, when they are scheduled to be dropped as the veteran configurations of Cloud Rest in the normal trial. So if you got some of those fragments, you should have them now, but if you don't, well, you can't get them until the 12th, so maybe run some other trials in the meantime. In addition to that, March of Sacrifices, they changed Balrog up again. Probably a little bit too hard for some people, but they reduce the health for the Stranglers that spawn for the hunting party, so it's easier to kill them. In addition to that, Balrog no longer skips his hunting phase with restricted health thresholds, and hunting party no longer fears and stuns a player when cast, so you can actually move around when he's howling like that. The golden trick involved with third party will no longer despawn immediately after being revealed. That's also a big one, so you can actually get those debuffs in that secondary achievement out of the way. Respec costs are now 1 gold in the UI as well, so you should no longer get that bug of it being like 1,000 type gold. And that's going to be going until the next incremental. So if you need a respec, get it done. Furnishings, fixing an issue with the Cocoon Enormous furnishing was invisible. And finally, in the UI section, fix UI error where the skills would frequently appear. So that's a few of the things that got updated there. Now, let's go over some of the Murkmire showcase that happened on ESO Live today. You can go ahead and take a look at that on the Twitch page if you want to look at the full items of it, but let's go over some of the highlights here. So first off, we're talking Murkmire. There's going to be a lizard mount. This is going to be a DLC. We're looking at 3 biomes. Most of it's going to be swampland, but it's going to have, you know, coastal swampland, middle swampland, and then kind of a mountainous range to go with it. We're going to have a 4-man leaderboard arena trial inside this. It's going to be Black Rose Prison. There's going to be 5 arenas in this versus the standard 10 arenas that you have with DSA. There's going to be buffs inside of it, much like you have inside of Veteran Maelstrom Arena. In addition to that, there's going to be unique weapons on this, like the same as Asylum weapons, same as Master weapons, etc. 2 of the ones that they showcased, one was a Restoration staff that does 2% healing done and adds a major vitality buff to Steadfast Ward. In addition to that, they also had a 2-hander with 124 weapon damage, and Uppercut does 50% splash damage to 2 other enemies nearby, which is kind of making it an AoE ability on top of that. No, I don't believe that it means that it's going to, like, if you're doing Dizzying Swing, I do not believe that means that the Dizzying Swing transfers over to those other 2 people, just the target that you're looking at. In Cyrodiil, in Update 20, they're going to make a few new changes, which are actually kind of big and kind of nice. First, bridges are going to be destroyable and repairable. And that is what you think. The towers can be destroyed and the middle can be destroyed. That's going to be a kind of big one to deal with inside PvP. Now, if you want to get past an area or if you want to cut off a incoming Zerg, you can go ahead and destroy that. There are going to have some ways around that with middle area like wood bridges that you can get through, but this is going to affect mainly the stonework bridges like between Alessia and Sejanus. In addition to that, gates are also going to be destroyable, so those are going to be another checkpoint that you can go ahead and build up, or you can break down with siege. And there's also going to be alternative bridges. Oh, and also alternative caves. So if you can't get through the siege gate that they have there, there's also going to be alternative caves that you can go through to get to areas as well. They're also changing up and adding new outposts as opposed to the ones that they have currently to better balance it because of some of these changes. Quality of life, we're looking at new improved CC immunity, which should help PvP, but they supposedly have heard what we've been complaining about a lot with CC immunity just being unreliable. And yes, they do recognize that sometimes we do cast CC and guess what? It never goes off. So it's a really nice one. For housing, there's going to be an undo and redo function. So if you misplace something, you can undo where you put it. In addition to that, there's also be item grouping, so you can go ahead and put a bunch of stuff on a table, get it perfectly decorated, group it together, and then move the table around along with all the other stuff with it as well. That's just kind of nice. There are music boxes come for housing, and there is also going to be a bit of character reordering that you can do on the character sheet. Now, a few other questions that came up. There's going to be, for the ESO Plus folks, there's going to be new free stuff inside the Crown Store if you're signed up for ESO Plus. There's also a Summer Percent event coming up in fall. And I think most importantly, most people are asking for Murkmire, there is going to be a PTS on September 17th in about 2 weeks from now. My wife is going to be upset because that's actually our anniversary, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'll be testing that out when it comes on PTS. I am looking forward to Murkmire, and also looking forward to a lot of those PvP changes. It's going to be real nice. Anyways, that's Hero of None. That's the Mundus Minute, which ran probably far over a minute. But hey, thanks for stopping in, guys.